Hello world, it's Birdo Prey 5, Qapla, and welcome to my review of Star Trek Lower Decks, Season 2, Episode 10, First Contact. Although I would have just called it Star Trek Disappointment. And I'm sorry, I was so built up that this season finale of season 2 had the potential of being the greatest episode of Star Trek we have seen since the end of Enterprise in 2005, somehow eclipsing the awesome season finale that we got in season 1 and 2 or 3 episodes this season, which I also highly rated at 8s and 9s on my scale. In fact, an 8.5 and 2 9s, if I recall, this season. Last season, the season finale, I think I gave it a perfect 10 out of 10. The only downside was that it actually required watching the entire series before it to make sense. So I had hopes that this episode would follow in the footsteps of episode of last season and really bring the entire season, or perhaps 2 seasons together in some kind of genius way that I just wouldn't have given them credit for a year ago. And no, unfortunately, this was a case where I gave them credit because it looked like credit was finally being given due, and it was just a extremely disappointing episode. Now, I'm going to be honest. No, it wasn't the worst episode by far, but it was the episode I had the most hope in for a season finale, and as a season finale, it is especially disappointing. It ends on a cliffhanger. And listen, this is a half-hour TV show. Okay? I get that you want to end on cliffhangers, but when you have a typical Star Trek season that has 22 to 26 episodes a season, and they're an hour long, and you end on a cliffhanger in June or July, and it comes back in September, and that's what it was. That's what Star Trek used to be. That's what network television used to be. The cliffhanger happened at the end, at the beginning of summer, right around the end of June. This would be typical for Deep Space Nine. You'd have your cliffhanger end at the end of June, and then by the beginning of September, you would have the new season begin. So you're looking at 3-4 months tops, and you've got a whole new hour-long, 25 plus more episodes for the rest of the year, and it wasn't too bad. Now, in the era of streaming and lower decks, we're getting 25-minute episodes, maybe 22 minutes, not counting the credits, and 10 of them, 10 episodes for the entire season. So if we're lucky, it'll be 10 months from now before the next season premieres. Now, I know they've already started working on it, so maybe they'll premiere it a little early, maybe 8 months. But, even if they want to do consistently year to year, we're talking 9 to 10 months out before we see season 1. And for 30-minute episodes, 22-minute episodes, You just can't end on a cliffhanger. It's not the same, okay? It's not TNG. It's not DS9. It's never going to be. Please don't do a best of both worlds. Please don't do, uh, a Dominion war ending that the war's about to start. You just don't have that buildup. You don't have the time. You're not going to have, and the audience today, that today's audience doesn't have the patience to wait for something like that. If they had the patience, you could do better stories throughout the season. This is the generation that wants stuff and wants it now. It's like they took one of the great things of previous Trek, but they forgot that they had to work within the new Trek formula, and this is going to F it up for all of us. So it's a quite disappointing ending to this episode. So with that, we're definitely going to get into spoilers because there's no other way to talk about it. So last week, we all would have thought this week would have been about the Pakled War. We thought we had last week was one of the great episodes. We had first lower decks on a Klingon ship, on a Vulcan ship, and on the Cerritos, and then a Pakled ship, and even a Borg ship. So we were teased. Were we going to see the Borg? Were we going to see the Pakleds? We expected to see the Pakleds. I even hoped we were going to see the USS Titan again and Captain Riker, because why not? We know we have Boimler's clone or transporter clone on the Titan. The Titan comes around whenever the Pakled story comes in. It looked like this was going to be a Pakled heavy episode, and instead the Pakleds don't come in till the very, very end of the episode, and it doesn't even make any sense. Like, I forgot that Pakleds meant anything this season, because this episode had nothing to do with the Pakleds until, okay, so at the beginning of the episode, we find out that Captain Freeman is due to get a promotion, and it's been teased by her husband, who's the admiral, that, she was up for a promotion soon, and she was going to be promoted to a new ship. Now, she seemed to be under the impression that she was going to be allowed to take her senior crew with her to a new ship, even though we don't usually see that in Trek. If a person gets promoted to captain, or a captain changes ship, like when Picard changed from the Stargazer to the Enterprise, which I guess is one of the few real times we've seen it happen. We don't know that he took anybody from the Stargazer with him. But for some reason, she thought she'd be able to take her entire senior crew with her. And they were like, yeah, no, you're gonna have to pick a new crew. Your crew stays behind. So Mariner overheard that at first secretly while she was bringing some contraband. So she hid in some plants or something. She overheard this, and so she's pissed. She comes back. She tells everybody what's happening because she's pissed her mom is leaving, and they were just starting to work together well. And so Boimler is filling out, drawing the banner for Captain Freeman Day, like Captain Picard Day on the Enterprise D. But on the Enterprise D, the children made the banners. It was for the children. You remember Patrick Stewart's famous line, the Admiral looks behind him and sees the banner Captain Picard Day. And he's like, oh, yes, it's for the children. For whatever reason, of course, Boimler decides he wants to do the banner. Like, I don't know, maybe Boimler grew up on the Enterprise D. I don't know. But so he's doing this stupid banner for Captain Freeman Day. And he's like, oh no, but I wonder if Captain Freeman Day is next week. She could be gone by then. Maybe they need to move up the festivities. So Mariner says, oh, I bet Ransom doesn't even know. So she goes to tell the whole senior bridge crew. And of course, none of them did know. And she sows this discord. Anyway, the main part of this episode is that they're actually going to be going on a first contact mission for the first time. Usually they come later, but in this instance, she's accompanying her friend, Captain Sonya Gomez, who it looks like she has a new ship, which looks like an Excelsior with Sovereign engines. It's a beautiful looking ship. And both ships, the USS Archimedes, both ships leave space dock and they're going to the Lapeeria system, because they're the LAP system, where they're going to make first contact with the Lapeerians. The plan is for the Archimedes to go in first, make first contact, and once everything's settled, then the Cerritos will follow up and come in and set up their subspace radios and whatnot that they need. Now, they don't want both ships going at the same time because they don't want it to look like an invasion. Okay, it makes sense. It makes sense. But Captain Freeman is just so happy to be part of a first contact mission from the beginning that it really doesn't matter. Okay, so obviously things don't go to plan. The Archimedes ends up getting hit by a solar flare that hits a planetoid that's made out of special energy absorbing matter, and it gets covered. The Archimedes gets covered, so they lose all power, including battery backup. So the Archimedes is slowly drifting towards the Lapeerian planet, and they're going to crash into the planet in 22 hours. Now, the Cerritos is in a further orbit, further away, but they're scanning and they see this all happen. But they don't have any way of getting to the Archimedes, because supposedly any place they go, they're going to cross this debris. And if even the smallest slice of debris gets on their ship, it's going to drain it of power too, and they'll be in the same space. So they got to figure out how are they going to get to the Archimedes. To an idiot like me, it seems like, well, you're in space. It's 3D. You go around the cloud of debris and come up from behind, and it's not a problem. But for whatever reason, you can't do that in this. So they've got to come up with a far more complicated solution. Anyway, Rutherford just comes up with the solution that if they eject the outer hull, which they don't need, and they fly very precisely through the debris field, then they can make it to the other side and use the tractor beam to save the Archimedes. So that's the plan. That's what's going on. Throughout the episode, Rutherford is having problems with his implant. It keeps getting some random error. It turns out that it's a memory full error, and it's full because he doesn't delete. After last time he lost all the memories of Tendi, he doesn't delete any memories of Tendi anymore. In fact, he backs them up in 3 places, so his memory's always full. So they're like, Billups comes, listen, you got to delete your memories, otherwise you're not going to be able to form new ones. And if you can't make new memories, then what's the point? So that eventually fixes Rutherford, though in his process of deleting his redundant memories, he does remember a scene of what looks like aliens giving him the implant to begin with, and it's very sketchy. And they're like, like, what if he wonders why he has this? And they're like, we programmed it. He'll think it was elective. And so Rutherford is like, wow, I think I remembered something I wasn't supposed to. Also, something interesting in this episode is we finally visit Cetacean Ops. And this is a place that's talked about on other ships. There's dolphins. There's dolphins aboard these starships. And apparently, now that we get to visit Cetacean Ops for the first time, these dolphins are full-fledged Starfleet officers in uniform. Yes, in uniform. In fact, that was the elective scene right there. So these, and not only are they dolphins, because it's lower decks, they're horny dolphins. And they're really interested in Rutherford. They're like, you need to jump in here now. And he's like, I can't do that. They've got to swim down and release. Okay. So the problem is there was one piece of the outer hull that got stuck. So they've got to release it from the inside. But as course would have it, this one piece of the outer hull removal clamps are at the bottom of the tank and down a long shaft in Cetacean Ops. Now, unfortunately, while the dolphins could go down there, the way to remove it, you need hands, not flippers. In fact, it's the same exact contraption as we saw in Star Trek First Contact, when they had to go and release the deflector dish. They had to go do a spacewalk to remove the deflector dish, where you put your hand, you turn it, you bring it out, you push it in, or you turn it, you pull it out, you turn it, you push it back in, and it releases the clamps. So they've got to do that now. So they've got to put on a diving suit to do it. First, Mariner was going to do it, but Mariner, they made her go apologize to her mom, because they were either going to die or her mom was going to leave. And in either case, she needed to go apologize. So Boimler goes, and he is a real life hero once again. Boimler saves the day, but in the course of freeing the clamp, he rips his suit, and it fills with water. And of course, he gets stuck trying to get out, and it looks like he surely dies. But of course, there's dolphins in there, so we know the dolphins rescue Boimler. And it's one of the funnier parts is seeing the dolphins, what the dolphins say and their translation to English. And so they're like, his blowhole is broken. Quick, don't let him dry out, even though he's drowning. Like he needs. Anyway, since Tendi is there with Rutherford, Tendi can give first aid, and Tendi saves his life. And Boimler was like, did I miss Captain Freeman Day? No, Boimler, you're okay. Tendi's been having an arc throughout the episode where she saw Dr. Tana delete her file from medical. So Tendi is convinced she's going to be thrown off the ship. So her and Rutherford spend the day doing and seeing all the sights she loves to see. And of course, it turns out that Dr. Tanner did delete her file, but because she thinks that she's overqualified to be dressing bandages. And instead of her becoming a doctor, I guess, she rathers that Tendi become a bridge science officer. And so Tendi's like, oh my God, you mean like Jadzia Dax? And Dr. Tanner's like, Jadzia Dax? I don't know who the hell that is. She's like, no, I mean like Spock. And she's like, it's going to mean more missions, more away missions, more responsibilities, more bridge time. Are you okay with that? And she hugs Dr. Tana. And Dr. Tana lets her guard down. It's like, okay. But it really didn't make any sense that you would delete her from the file. And anyway, the writing in this episode is subpar, especially not just for Star Trek. I'm talking about on the lower decks writing scale. Frankly, we've seen a lot better written episodes. Quite obvious things are quite obvious. You pretty much knew how this was going to end. At the very last second, the Cerritos comes in with its tractor beam, stops the ship from crashing, saves the day. They let Freeman go down. Her crew does first contact. So the Cerritos does the first contact. The first contact goes great. Everybody's happy. Everybody's partying. Everybody's... Captain Freeman decides she's not going to take the promotion, that she likes her job too much. She has the best crew. And so a ship from Starfleet Command is in orbit. There's tons of starships in orbit when this is all done. And so she tells the Starfleet Command ship that she's not taking the promotion. She's not leaving. And then the guy from Starfleet Command says, you don't have a choice. And she's like, what do you mean? I'm turning down the promotion. He's like, we're not here to promote you. We're here to arrest you. You're under arrest. And she's like, for what? And they're like, we have that you conspired with Klingons to blow up planet Pakled. So in the last 2 minutes of the episode, they circle back to the Pakled plot, and you realize this is going to be a to be continued. And you're like, son of a bitch, motherfuckers. Anyway, it doesn't even make any fucking sense, because they're like, what happened? They're like, today at 900 hours, a whatever explosive blew up planet Pakled. And that's exactly the time you were on your mission. So obviously you planned it that way. So basically, because she has the perfect alibi, obviously she's guilty. And that's why they arrest her. It makes zero sense. The crew is like, Captain, what are your orders? And she's like, just stand down. We'll let the system play out. We have the truth on our side. Just let everything be. And so at the end of the episode, basically Ransom is in charge, since since now Ransom was not going to be captain. A new captain was supposed to be called in when Captain Freeman left and took over a different ship. So that really was pissing off Ransom. But at the end of this, Ransom's in charge, and the entire crew is just dumbfounded. And Boimler got everybody together so that everybody could applaud and watch Captain Freeman walk off the ship for the last time, thinking she was going to her new ship. And instead, everybody's there applauding her as she's under arrest and walking off the ship. And of course, the Starfleet command is like, this woman's under arrest. And so everybody is like, this can't be happening. It's very disappointing. And they had pictures of something that happened with the Klingons. They're black and white pictures too, which is ridiculous. But it didn't make any sense how a couple of still pictures could prove anything, let alone the fact that Freeman had anything to do with blowing up the Pakled planet. Now, I'm guessing it means the Pakled planet has already been destroyed because of that boron explosive device that they talked about last week. Here, she's saying, stand down. Proof. You colluded with Klingon extremists. And you planted a bomb in the Pakled capital city. And it happened while you were conveniently on a mission. So the guy's like, it's for a tribunal to decide now. She orders everybody to just sit back. This is everybody clapping for her. Like Starfleet security, this woman is under arrest. Kind of reminds me of a little bit of the Walk of Shame from Game of Thrones. And then it looks like an Intrepid class ship, like a Voyager. And it just flies away. And the whole crew is like, shit, like, what do we do now? The Cerritos doesn't have its outer hull. And that's it. To be continued. But you do get to see some other ships as it backs out, which are some nice looking ships. So fucking disappointing. Had they continued last week's episode, had we had the Klingons and Vulcans back, had we just had the Titan and the Pakleds back, and we finally put a fucking end to this damn Pakled arc, which is the weakest part about this show, has been this Pakled arc. If we could have gotten rid of the Pakleds at the end of season 2 and given us something fresh for season 3, I would have said, not only are things looking good, they're looking up. Now it's the complete opposite. Not only are things looking bad, but they're looking worse. Because now we're going to have Pakleds back again, as I guess, at least in the first episode of season 3, if not for more of season 3. At this point, if Riker hasn't come back, I don't know that we're ever going to see the Titan again. Why would you not use Riker and the Titan when you could? It's easy way to get some good scenes. Easy way to get some quality time, and you have Boimler on there. And this Boimler one of the things he says early on, he's like, I never get to jump into the unknown. And then later, like, well, you get to jump into the unknown now, when he literally jumps into the tank. And like, yes, you do, Boimler. You got to get onto the Titan. You literally went into an unknown anomaly once. It's like you forget that your life you lived up to this point. We didn't forget it. You had a very full, life. Now you chose to go back to the Cerritos, but it doesn't erase everything that happened to you on the Titan. We also got to see the captain's yacht. Apparently, the Cerritos has a captain's yacht. It's called the Forbidden Place. That's what Tendi and Rutherford call it, the Forbidden Place. I think it's funny because it's something we almost never see in real Trek. But Mariner's mother was going to try to take it out to rescue the Archimedes, but Mariner said, no, you're crazy. And luckily, Rutherford was there and was able to present a better plan. Otherwise, Freeman probably be dead. Captain Freeman would be dead, trying to rescue the Archimedes and her friend, Sonya Gomez. There was also a little bit of the random Andorian that Mariner has words with every so often. Kimberly, I think it is. Or Jennifer. God damn it, Jennifer. They run into each other at the beginning of the episode, and Mariner's like, you hate me. And Jennifer's like, I don't even think about you. And they're like, there. Anyway, at the very end, towards the end of the episode, Mariner almost gets pulled out of the ship because they need a view screen, but the power will be off. So they eject, they literally pop out the section of the bridge so that they can just see out the hole in the wall, so they can have a view screen. And Mariner she doesn't get sucked out, but because they're hitting things, she kind of gets pushed out. And it looks like she's going to be lost in space, but somebody comes running and grabs her by the arm at the last second and pulls her in. And of course, it turns out to be Jennifer. And so Jennifer and Mariner kind of make up at the bar later or somewhere. It's like, Jennifer's like, I always got the feeling you didn't like me. And Mariner's like, yeah, I think it's because anytime I like people as a defense mechanism, I kind of try to push them away. So Jennifer's like, so what I'm hearing is that you actually do like me. And Mariner's like, well, I wouldn't go that far. So they became kind of friendly. So like Jennifer's like the newest friend to the group. Will she be there next season? Who knows? I have no faith at this show at this point. The good thing about this episode, and it's something that they started last week, was, again, this is not an episode that they wrote every line for laughs. I'll be honest, for 15 or 20 minutes, I was pretty well taken in that I was watching a Star Trek episode that was more about sci-fi drama than comedy. And the problem was, had they had 45 minutes, they probably could have done a pretty good episode. But having 21, 22 minutes of writing, they couldn't pull off what they wanted to do this week. Last week, they did it brilliantly. This week, not so much. That said, I am still happy to see that they are backing off the comedy just a bit. and bringing up the drama. It's something that worked for the Orville, and in time, perhaps, may work for Lower Decks. I hope it does. Because what they were doing the first season, for the most part, other than that final episode, wasn't working. And most episodes this season also weren't working. This is a middle of the line episode. Like literally 5, maybe a 5.5 out of 10. I'll give it a 5.5 out of 10, which, wouldn't be the worst episode if it wasn't the season finale. But being I had such high hopes, like I was honestly hoping for an 8, 9, or 10. Okay, honestly, a 9 would have been disappointing after last year's 10 out of 10 season finale. So even a 9 I would have been a bit disappointed with. So you can only imagine how a 5.5 feels compared to it. Now, any other episode of 5.5, I probably would have been fairly happy with. But just complete and utter disappointment for the season finale. I hope this helps. I hope you've enjoyed my Star Trek Lower Deck reviews. Next Thursday, there is no Trek, but the Thursday after, Star Trek Prodigy begins. So there will be Star Trek Prodigy reviews coming out on Thursdays. And then on November 18th, Star Trek Discovery begins. So there will be Star Trek Discovery reviews coming out as well. Now, the 18th is a Monday. I don't know if every Discovery episode is going to be released on Monday or just the first. We'll see. But that's what's coming up. I hope to see you then. And remember, I do live streams most other days. Please remember to comment, like, subscribe, and I will see you around. Bird out. Qapla.